Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. MOF Learning Week Day 4 is about to begin. But before that, let me take a moment to review a few technical details. Today's webinar will be conducted in English. However, it comes with English-Indonesian simultaneous interpretation. To listen to the translation, click the globe icon or three dots icon, select interpretation, and choose English or Indonesian accordingly. It is advised that you do not click the mute original audio, but should you wish to do so to obtain a clear audio rendition, please make sure to manually switch off the interpretation when someone on the floor is speaking in the language that you are listening into. This webinar is also available on our YouTube channel. That's all the information, and let us now begin the Ministry of Finance Learning Week Day 4, Corporate University, the Drivers of Learning Organization. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Siti, your host for today. Welcome to Ministry of Finance Learning Week Day 4, Corporate University, the Drivers of Learning Organization. First of all, I would like to thank God the Almighty that has given us blessings to virtually attend this webinar. And I would like to extend a very warm welcome to the Chairman of Financial Education and Training Agency, Bapak Andin Hadianto, the respected Echelon 1 officials of Ministry of Finance, the Secretary of Financial Education and Training Agency, Bapak Iqbal Islami, Director of General Financial Education and Training Center, Ibu Heni Kartikawati, and our special guest speaker, Martijn Rademakers. Not to mention best regards to all participants who have joined us today. We are very grateful for the enthusiasm for the participants, and I'm very pleased to announce that we have hundreds of participants who are joining this event via Zoom and YouTube at the moment. But before we begin, let's us sing the Indonesia National Anthem, Indonesia Raya. May all the audience stand up. Please be seated. Dear participants, to officially open this webinar, we are pleased to listen to the welcoming remarks by Director of the General Financial Education and Training Center, Ibu Heni Kartikawati. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Mbak Siti. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon to you all and good morning to Mr. Martijn. honorable seniors, officials from the Ministry of Finance and other ministries, agencies of Indonesia, honorable speaker, Mr. Martijn Rademakers, and moderator, Ibu Evi Diah Indrawati, distinguished participants. Ladies and gentlemen, Ibu, Bapak yang berbahagia, it is my pleasure to welcome you all on the fourth day of Kemenkeu Learning Week. Today, we still have a half-day webinar in which we have invited an eminent international speaker to share his knowledge and past experience focusing on learning organization. It is a glorious moment to extend my warm wishes on behalf of the Finance Education and Training Agency. I want to convey my heartfelt gratitude to the speaker, Mr. Martijn Rademakers, an adjunct professor of corporate strategy, Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Amsterdam, for accepting our invitation and sharing his knowledge as well as his experience in today's webinar. It is our pleasure to have you here, Mr. Martijn. I would like to extend my appreciation to our special moderator. He is one of our best instructors in the General Financial Education and Training Center, Ibu Evi Diah Indrawati. Hello, Bu Evi. Thank you for being here with us.
Hello, Bu Heni. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Ibu Bapak sekalian, as we all know, Ministry of Finance is on its way to be an ideal learning organization. Maybe the word ideal is too ideal to be true, but we are keep trying our best to be an expert organization in creating, acquiring, interpreting, transferring, and retaining knowledge. We are trying to elevate our behavior, our ways of working, our business processes and strategies as reflections of our new levels and capacities of knowledge. As a way of developing its human resources competencies, Ministry of Finance has implemented corporate universities since 2016 as its strategy for becoming an effective learning organization. Through a linkage and compatibility between education, learning, and the use of values with performance targets, Kemenkeu Corpo supports the Ministry of Finance vision and mission. When it comes to learning organization, we cannot separate it from the corporate university as a critical part of our initiative to implement learning organization. After 3 days of fantastic speakers on topics like future learning and self-determination, the power of learning agencies and learning methods, we are now ready to delve into the topic of corporate university. Ladies and gentlemen, today's webinar will be very fortunate to have a great speaker such Mr. Martijn. Mr. Martijn is the best-selling author of the book Corporate University, Drivers of Learning Organizations. As you can imagine, Mr. Martijn will share some of the ideas from his best-selling book. So once again, thank you, Mr. Martijn, for today. Ladies and gentlemen, please make the most of this session. I believe you will benefit greatly from it. I will stop here as I don't want to keep you any longer. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Ibu Heni, for the welcoming remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's the time for the main event that we have been waiting for. But before that, let me introduce the moderator for today's webinar. Ibu Evi Diah Indrawati is a family member of Ministry of Finance, where she provides training for various training centers. She currently works at the General Financial Education and Training Center as a senior trainer. Apart from her main role as a trainer, she is also a certified hard skill assessor and a certified trainer of trainer. Without further ado, Ibu Evi Diah Indrawati, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for introducing me to the audience, Mbak Siti. Oh, I'm so happy to be here. This afternoon is a bit cloudy, but so hot in Jakarta. Even though we are at different locations, I can really feel the spirit, the excitement, and the enthusiasm of the audience in this online forum. The Honorable Head of Finance Education and Training Agency, respected Echelon 1 officials of Ministry of Finance, my Ministry of Finance fellows and colleagues, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, let me greet you a happy afternoon. First of all, please let me introduce myself. I am Evi Diah Indrawati from General Finance Education and Training Agency. Today, I will be your moderator on Day 4 of Ministry of Finance Learning Week series. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a very inspiring speaker, Dr. Engineer Martijn F. Rademakers. He is a lecturer, a researcher, an author of many articles, blogs, and books. He is also a co-founder of an AI-driven startup. He is also a visiting professor at many campuses around the world. And one thing that is more interesting here, he is even a Royal Dutch Football Association referee, KNVB referee in the national competition. Wow, he is such a multi-talented person and very busy for sure. Hi, Martijn, how are you?
I'm good, and meanwhile, I'm looking forward to my next match, Ajax against AZ, which is in this weekend. So we'll be busy. But for now, I'm here. I'm feeling fine, and thank you so much for your kind introduction. Great to be here together with you.
Yeah, so happy to be with you also here. So you must be busy also on weekends too, right? So Martijn, please tell us a bit about your hobby here. I heard that you love visiting museums and exploring different cultures, and you did it with your family together. Can you tell a bit about that?
Yes, absolutely, and thanks for the question. I think in the end of the day, I'm a curious person. I want to learn all the time, and museums are great places to learn. It's about history, it's about art, it's about creativity. And if there's one thing in these times of digitalization, with computers doing a lot of stuff, I really cherish the creativity of humankind, which you can find in museums, I must say. And I favor Japanese art, especially the 18th century art. It's really beautiful, but there's definitely also the contemporary art, which is sometimes hard to understand, but that feeds my curiosity again.
Wow, thank you. That's really impressive, yeah? So you're fond of art too, okay. So Martijn, I want to thank you first for spending your time with us today. It's very great to have you here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in a few more seconds, Martijn will share his thoughts and experience about corporate university, specifically on how it can be the driver of a learning organization. He will tell us about the strategies that need to be implemented by a corporate university and how we can create our value as a learning organization. I believe that we can gain and enhance our knowledge by joining his session today. But before we start, I'd like to inform the audience these informations. If you have any questions during the session, please feel free to put your questions in the Zoom chat box, or you can also directly raise your hand in the Zoom during the Q&A session later. And for those who access this session from our YouTube channel, you can write your questions in the YouTube live chat. All right, without further ado, Martijn, the time is yours.
Thank you so much. And if I may, I will pull up some slides which support my story, which I really love to share with you. And by the way, I definitely look forward also to your questions. So there we go. Again, Bu Effie, thank you for your kind introduction. And coming back to your remark earlier on the weather in, I guess in Jakarta at least, a bit cloudy and very warm. In the Netherlands, it's sunny actually, but it's not very warm. It's 14 degrees Celsius. And it's, of course, morning here. It's afternoon, I think, in the place where you are. So I'm still, well, I'm definitely already woke up a little while. So I'm just wide awake and really ready to share my thoughts with you. So there we go. I'm going to pull up my slides for you so you can not only hear me, but also see the graphics, the pictures, and the words I'm going to use. And if everything is all right, yes, it's all in place. So again, thank you for having me. And yes, I'm going to share my thoughts with you based on my research on the book I've written on corporate universities. And I will definitely put it in the time we live in now, in the time of digitalization. And I think there are definitely a thing or two to discuss with each other and to share. So allow me to go to the next slide. This is the book, which for I think many of you might be familiar. It's definitely about the role of corporate universities in helping organizations to shape, change, and strengthen their strategies. So it's really the link between strategy and corporate learning. And there are a lot of cases in it, and in a way it became a bestseller around the world. And so you see a number of flags there, because it's written, the languages in which the book has been published, also in Bahasa Indonesia, which I'm very proud of. And in Danish, it's also in Russian, by the way, published in Hong Kong, wanted to publish it, and also in Korea. So it seems that the concept, the idea of corporate universities and the strategic role of learning is really taking hold in a lot of companies, organizations, and also ministries in the world. A very important thing, the concept, I believe, is the idea that the world is changing fast, so we need fast learning, right? So fast world, fast learning. I think in the book, I make a point, yes, that's absolutely important, fast learning, but it's also about the right direction, and that's the hint towards strategy. And I have labeled this, in fact, learning in the right direction, fast learning in the right direction is actually what I call smart learning. So you make learning very effective in an organization. So that's the point. And let's look, if we look in the times, digitalization where we live in now, how does smart learning look like then? Well, actually, I think if you look for, as a starting point, still, the Ministry of Finance, Indonesia, which fully embraced the concept of learning, but then based on helping your organization to get your strategy done. You see, at school, college, academy, types of corporate university, and it's quite an art to do all three of them. And there are not many organizations which are mastering this. And see, I feel really proud that the Ministry of Finance of Indonesia really is mastering this and really helps achieve for the organization efficiency through learning, alignment. It's all about change. There are new things to learn to go to the next level. That's a college type of corporate university activities. And in the end of the day, to achieve competitive advantage, it's by doing and exploring new ways to create value for the bigger whole, for society. So three very different types of learning, very different types of organizing learning. And this is happening in the Ministry of Finance. And it's really great to see. And if we link this to the times we live in now, yes, digitalization. Well, how does this play out with those three types? Are those three types still relevant or maybe not? Let's have a look there. So yes, live in times of digital transformation. Yesterday I had a very nice program with the Rotterdam School of Management, Erasmus University, with actually a range of different organizations, social housing companies, consulting companies, companies in finance, all across the board. Every sector in industry, in the world, in every country, is being affected by the phenomenon of digitalization. What do we need to do? How does it work? How do we have to change? And people come there to learn, to understand what's going on for next, to take action. And yeah, to me, that means, which is what you see happening around you, that corporate learning is more important than ever. And trying to change without learning, that's totally impossible, isn't it? So corporate learning is more important than ever. But how does it then look like? Well, I share with you three statements, which in fact are linked to the academy, college, school. So yeah, I think you can imagine that we need even more learning by exploration to discover and to define answers to the digital challenges. And we'll go deeper into this in a minute from now. And I believe if there are new ways of value to be created by your organization and in a digital way, we get into a transformation. The organization has to change to do new things and also to learn new things. And we need to get people along, right? So the transformational learning as a concept, also in my book, is about to engage people, to tell the story, to get them along with you. That they also want to give the best they have for the organization, but also to enable them. That's an important, enable people. That's education, of course. And the end of the day, also to lead people for organization development in the right direction. Corporate learning is extremely important there, and definitely also possible. And the third one, if you have done all this, so setting new direction, changing the organization, of course, we have to keep up with the latest developments within the system that we have, within the same, what I call value creation model that we have, but we have to develop ourselves within that particular model. It's about capability development. And in the digital age, wherever I go, whichever organization I speak to, all people have the question, how can we find the people who are digitally literate or who hopefully even can do coding? Where are the IT people? And there's a lot of capability development there to do for us, I think for every organization. So these are the three major points I would like to discuss a little bit further with you. And to put it in more in graphics, let's have a deeper look into the phenomenon of academy or university learning by exploration, finding out, right? It's about the strategic action of discover and define, discover what are the new possibilities, with the new necessities that we have to do, and then define what are we going to do. That's the type of learning that takes place in the academy type of corporate university. Then in the college, it's about motivation and getting people to move. We just spoke about it, right? It's the transformational learning part. And last but not least, the school part is really the capability development, and definitely also to scale it up and to secure what people learn, and that people keep doing the things that they need to do, scale and secure. These are the major points, and this is where I believe corporate learning is pivoting around in these times of digitalization. Three very different types of corporate learning: academy style, college style, school style, right? But all linked to strategy, all linked to setting the right direction. Having said that, then I think we need to take a step back, or make something a little bit more clear, and look into the literature and find an answer to the question, what is digitalization actually? Yes, it's about technology, but I believe it's a little bit more than that. So I look into the literature, and there's an excellent book here, which I would definitely like to recommend to you, Designed for Digital. And I found some hints and clues which are, I think, helpful to further understanding what is this digitalization. Here you see some words there on the slides. So yes, it's about data, but lots of data, and it's everywhere, and it's increasing in size, in numbers, and in quantity for sure. Unlimited connectivity and massive processing power, both the computers, but also don't forget the AI. And AI, of course, is in fact extremely smart software. These are the times we live in, and it's really changing how we live and how we do business, how we run a ministry, what's being asked from a ministry. And I believe that because there's a lot of technology involved. At the end of the day, we as people, we're going to doing something with it, isn't it? And I believe we can hardly imagine not only what's possible, but what's coming up for us. And I feel like we better be prepared. And the only thing to be prepared about things we don't know about is to be ready to learn, and to learn fast in the right direction. Anyway, this is as a starting point anyway. So digitalization, okay, so yes, technology, but definitely we are doing something with it, and we have maybe even not always a clue what it is. So then we would argue, like, if this is the unknown world for a large extent, then I believe that organization can really have a lot of benefit in having a solid academy type corporate university activity in their organization, right? So learning by exploration, what's possible, what's going out there, what's happening out there, right? And what does it mean for us? What can we do? And in that realm, let me pull up the text there. So we have to deal with maybe the problem that we all have, I think, with imagination. So what's possible, and this from literature, by the way, the statement you find here. Most organizations have little experience actually imagining, having the imagination of the solutions to the new problems we see ourselves confronted with. And most organizations are still learning, but some are a little bit more ahead than others. And that's, I think, a very important thing to realize, and also reflect on your own organization. So how good are we in imagining what's coming up to us? In terms of helping us to anticipate, not only react, but also anticipate what's going to happen. Sometimes even shape what.
Martijn?
Know what they want. Yes, please. I hear something. Somebody wants to have.
You may
ask a
continue
question, right?
a bit phrase for a moment, but now it's okay. You may continue.
Okay, there's a slight instability between Amsterdam and Jakarta, I guess, but okay. So if you allow me, I just continue, right? And but for notifying me. So I was arrived at the point of even ask the customer what they want, or ask the policymakers what they want, or ask the people what they want, and people hardly can imagine actually what they want. So remember the dawn of the iPhone, and this with Steve Jobs, and actually the statement coming from him. He said, "Well, people know what they want as soon as they see it, when they have the device in their hands or the technology, then they know what they want." So there's still a lot of, what I try to say here is a lot of things we still have to find out together. And there we need the phenomenon, the concept of exploration, the exploring type of learning, finding out. And we have to open up for this because we even don't know what we're going to find out. But we know that we need to find out. We need to learn. We need to give our corporate university for that. Just to add some hopefully to your imagination. I'm not sure if you have ever seen the movie Spielberg movie, right? It's a Hollywood movie, Ready Player One. If not, maybe you should have a look at it. It's about a parallel world, physically but also online. And actually, it looks like science fiction, but it's becoming reality already. There are large organizations working on what you call the metaverse. It's really a parallel digital economy where things are possible which are not possible in the physical world. And it's definitely based on, in fact, a capitalist system in terms of individual ownership, trade, and what have you. And I believe even every person here also in the room and outside the room and online and not online, we're going to be affected by this phenomenon, the metaverse. And I've already seen signs of progress there. And you might even wonder what does this mean for a Ministry of Finance, because it's a parallel economy. What capabilities do we need here? What's our role there? What can we do? What do we have to do? So imagination is important, and also the possibility that we even can anticipate in the new phenomenon that come to us through the digital world. Companies, organizations are doing this already. Sometimes you go to universities to find the space, literally the physical space to open their minds, to free up. I believe that the Ministry of Finance of Indonesia has also very nice space where you can really open your mind, free up, and have this creative, explorative way of thinking and discovery and learning. There are organizations say, well, definitely actually something we have to go out. And I know that members of the corporate university and people running the corporate university of Ministry of Finance of Indonesia are also really go out in the world, learn what our other organizations are doing. Some organizations have this what you call leadership adventures, that they visit other companies. How do you do things? Can we learn from it? Can we share an idea of what's possible? You have corporate labs where people are invited. If you have a great idea, you get time and space to work on your idea and see if it works or not. But one thing, even if it doesn't work, you have learned. You're more valuable to us. And of course, you have the exchange programs, even between ministries, private companies, and what have you. It's all about outside-in thinking in the end of the day. It's things which are not here yet, but we try to imagine and see what can we do in the future, which value do we need to create in the future. Explorative learning, academy type of corporate university. So that's what's happening. So, and I think it's a very wise thing to do as an organization. Discover and define through learning. Then we have another type of learning. So imagine that you have, okay, we find some new directions, new ways in which we would like to create value for the people, for customers, for people we serve. Then we need to also change organization, right? Well, then we have the college type of corporate university for the transformational learning, to engage people and enable them to go along. And especially the engagement part is actually helping people to understand what's going on. If people don't understand what's going on, they cannot get along with you, right? So that's and I think it's a very important notion here that we should not assume that people understand what's going on. We need to help them. We need to tell the stories. And to give you an example, a large bank, international bank called ING Bank, based in the Netherlands. I work with them, and I'm allowed to share this stuff with them, with you, by the way. They went through a large-scale transformation, a complete new way of working, large, agile, in fact, what they introduced, based on the notion of banking is going to change anyway. And you have, of course, the Google and the Facebook and other big players, and Apple, all also going into financial services. So what's the role of a bank? So top management went to Silicon Valley and see what's going on there. They came back and we really have to make a turn as a bank. And then middle management say, well, we don't believe you. They've also sent to Silicon Valley and came back. So they started to understand. And actually a massive program was launched in helping people in the organization to understand which direction the organization was going, and helping people to go along with this change through education. Because believe me, agile way of working is completely different from the more hierarchical way of working. And to give you an idea, for instance, agile working is, for instance, one part is Scrum. This is way bigger than this. And what you see here is a picture. It's where it all started with 3 Scrum teams initiative being taken in IT. And in just 3 years' time, you have already 175 DevOps teams. I mean, the whole IT of the bank was already turning agile, and then the rest of the organization. This was going fast. And it was a large part in the IT academy from an ING Bank in getting people along, helping people to understand what needed to happen. So I think it's a great progress with a very important role for the corporate university. So a lot of initiatives helping people to understand how did we do things in the past, how does it look like in the future, what's your role in it. You see here on my right hand side, at least, I see my ING story, our ING story. It's a book where all ING people. There are thousands and thousands with their stories about the change, involving people, understanding the story. It was an enormous effort, but a very important undertone. Learning, 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 transformational learning, college type learning. So yes, well, that's at least what this bank did, and a lot of organizations are now involved, of course, in transformational learning, setting a direction, and then get people along. So yeah, and you might wonder if we then have new directions to take, and it happens through time often and maybe faster, then we transform, and then we also have to scale and secure, because we are a lot of people, and we have to keep up with the pace there to keep up our capabilities. Then you have the school type of learning capability at the end of the day, but at scale, and definitely also secure the behavior that you like, that you want, and there we can, I think, get inspiration from I think a very important book. It's called Range, and many of you, I guess, might have read the book or heard about the book. It's by David Epstein, and his point is also in the title of the book, by the way. It's in this world, yes, we need a lot of specialists, but at the end of the day, we need also to have generalists to link all the specializations. And he makes the point that we need people who are like the Swiss knife, so to speak. So they have a particular specialization. They're very good in, for instance, IT or finance, but they master the skills. And for instance, a person who is very good in finance also understands enough about coding, enough about AI, enough about, well, some other fields. You don't have to be a specialist, but you have to be able to talk to the specialist. And the specialist, if they talk to you, you need to understand them, right? That's actually the point he makes here, Range. And that means that there's definitely a lot of work to do for school type corporate universities in helping people to master multiple disciplines, one very deep in your discipline and also more broader. So that's I think also a new role. And by the way, this book is from 2019, so it's quite recent still, but it's a new role, I think, for corporate universities to enable organizations to stay at speed in the right direction in this digital age. Examples, for instance, from capability development at Nike, for instance, a company I work with, and also they have imagined, okay, what does digitalization mean for us? And it also plays out in their school type activities of learning, corporate learning. So people, also managers, top management, get courses in coding. So they don't have to do the coding, but at least have to understand coding and learn some of the software languages. They follow classes on data science and analysis, just to get really digitally even more literate and being able to speak to the people who are really specialists. So MVP development courses like MVP, minimum viable product of MPV, I put it here. You have to switch those to the run, by the way. But these courses are important to develop new ideas that start small and make it larger, something very hard for a lot of people. And definitely you have management development programs, which are, and that's interesting, I think, multidisciplinary, bring people together, but also multi-level in terms of the hierarchy you still find in a lot of organizations. So this is I believe, the new school type of learning in the digital age. And maybe as a last example for you on the school type of learning is take in terms of how it's being organized. So what you see here is just an example, a agile organization structure, which is the Spotify model, if I'm not mistaken. And so you have a lot of teams who work relatively autonomously, so it's really, well, there's a limited autonomy, of course, but they do their tasks. These are the squads. And within those squads, you have all kinds of specialists. Those specialists learn, but they're being led by what called a chapter lead. And you see this, the person there in this picture is outside this stripe here. So you have chapter leads who are really responsible for the development of the specialists in the squads. And of course, those chapters also need to talk to each other to keep stuff aligned. So nowadays, also the organization of learning is getting different. So specialists help other specialists to get better in what they do, and they definitely need to exchange thoughts with each other. So there we are in times of change, in times of digital change, in times of digital transformation. I believe that the three major forms of how you shape a corporate university to shape learning in your organization are still relevant, but they take a different shape because of digitalization. But still, we have here the academy, the college and school type of corporate university activities, learning by exploration, in this case, discover and define, transformational learning, motivate people and get them to move, and the school type of corporate university, really about capability development, really about scaling and securing expertise. And if you do so, I definitely believe, and I see it around me, is that it really helps organizations to progress in the right direction at the right speed. And that's, I think, in the statement, which is a paraphrase of a statement by former President of the United States, John F. Kennedy. But our progress as an organization can be no swifter than our progress in learning. And I think that's what I would like to share with you for this morning, coming all the way from a book which has been inspirational worldwide on shaping corporate universities and learning, put it in the digital age and see that the type of learning and the types of corporate university are still definitely very relevant, but take another shape, different ways of how you apply learning and especially corporate learning in a digital world. All right, so I'm actually ready to, and just checking the time, I think doing relatively well, isn't it? To take any questions. I would like to give the word back to Effie, please.
Thank you, Martijn, for the comprehensive presentation. That is so insightful for us here. If I may sum up a little bit from your presentation here, that, yeah, corporate learning means smart learning here, that we put speed learning as well as the right duration to it. And there are three dichotomies, I call that, yeah, in your explanation about facing digital transformation with corporate learning here. So corporate learning is important with three kinds of learning: school, college, and academy. They are aligned to ensure envision of future roles here. So learning by exploration or academy here, so we discover and define here. Like, for example, the example is like leadership, adventures, corporate labs, exchange programs, and so on here. So this is made by academy. And then transformational learning is for to motivate and move people here, to get them to get engagement, yeah. So your example with ING, I think, is so great here. So we engage, enable, and lead people for organizational development. And the last is by school, exploitation here, capability development to sustain our new normal in the digital age here, like scale and secure, you mentioned that, yeah. So it is fulfilled with school. Okay, thank you very much for your presentation here. So this is all that I can sum up from your presentation. Now, all right, I believe that the audience have so many questions with them now, for sure. In this Zoom room, I see that 300 something, yeah, almost 400 people on Zoom room here. So yeah, we will move on to the Q&A session. We have around 30 minutes for the Q&A session. So let's have a live question first from the audience at Zoom main room. So the first to raise his hand is Mr. Juniarko. Can you unmute your microphone, Pak Juniarko, and introduce yourself to us and say your question?
Thank you, Mr. F. Hi, Martin. Nice to meet you. Thank you for the opportunities. First of all, having been learned, just right down to the question, Martin. Having been learned knowledge management in my master degree in 2012, in your opinion, or what are the similarities or differences with the corporate learning at your presentation now? And then maybe second question, as a public servant sector organization, how the Ministry of Finance can be, or what are the enablers or the challenges in order to become one of the leading in corporate learning in digitalization, according to you? Thank you.
So,
Thank
okay,
you
thank you,
for
Pak Junior. Got three
question.
questions, yeah, from one person. Okay.
Because it's
Go ahead,
it's
Martijn.
the art of taking the right chance, and it's a
Yes.
very interesting questions. Thank you so much, and I keep my answers condensed, if I may. So thank you, Pa Juniorco, for the questions. And the first question was, I believe, on so you learned a lot, your masters on knowledge management, 2012, and then say, okay, but then we have here the phenomenon of corporate university.
Yeah.
In the end of the day, corporate universities are about shaping learning in a way that you help the organization to achieve a strategy, right? So that's what you do. Knowledge management is in fact, I think, a part of this atmosphere, because in the end of the day, learning is one way or another is about knowledge creation and knowledge transfer, right? And I think, and to do so, I think the discipline of knowledge management is very important for that, to understand how you actually then manage the flow of knowledge through your organization. And in terms of developments, what I have seen, and that's and what I can share with you is that in early times, organizations try to put a lot of knowledge in databases with the assumption that people will find the knowledge. And nowadays you get more to the internet-based approach of people who want something. They use Google and the search engines to look up what kind of knowledge there is on their questions. And I think that the greatest challenge of our time is to, in terms of knowledge management, is to secure that the knowledge that people find is of high quality. So that's at least hopefully part of the question. In terms of the ambitions of, for instance, the Ministry of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia, is in terms of challenges, if I got your question correct, is I think the challenge is no different than other large and high quality organizations in terms of the really the challenge to imagine what's going on, what's possible in the world. That's the first one. So really academy type of activities, which is somehow difficult because you try to shape something that's not there yet. And secondly is to really keep up with the pace of development that's being pushed by so many high-tech firms around us. It's really breathtaking to see how many high-quality initiatives are being taken by startups all over the place. And we all know from the 100 startups with great ideas, just 2 will make it, but these 2 are quite disruptive. So, and I think these are the two challenges. First, it's more about shaping your own future, imagination, explorative learning. And the other is understanding new rules of the game, which is really about learning what's going on. And both are really required to look from the outside in, what's happening, and also what's happening, and then what can we do? I hope this is a kind of an answer to your question, Mr. Junior.
If I may, the difference between, or the similarities between knowledge management and universal corporate university, what is the similarities and the differences?
The difference between knowledge management and corporate universities, if I'm not mistaken, is corporate universities in the end of the day about organizing knowledge management. That's knowledge management is, I think, corporate university is think about an organization, people trying to organize learning, organize knowledge exchange, and then knowledge management is one of the tasks, I believe, of corporate universities.
Well, thank you, Pak Martijn. Yeah, Pak Rico, I hope that answered
Thank you.
your questions. Yeah,
Yes.
that.
Pretty question.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Martijn.
So if I may rephrase a little bit your knowledge creation and transfer the knowledge here with knowledge management, that makes a difference. And I think the challenges are the same with other college, corporate university, but we keep up with them with technological and digital advancement to cope with them. Yeah, that is a little bit refreshment of Martijn answer. All right, maybe we can have one more live question from the audience right now. I see Miss Evie Maya. Can you unmute your microphone and ask your question?
Okay,
Ibu
thank you.
Maya?
Thank you, Bu Evi. It seems like I call myself. Hi, Martin. My name is Evi. I'm from National Institute of Public Administration. My institution is a national government agency that fostering the competency development for civil service. And currently, we are creating what we call as a national corporate university, which means that this corporate university will be operated at national-wide level. Yes. According to these issues, I have some questions that to raise to you. First of all, from your experience, how many countries in this world which has that national-wide corporate university that engage all the competency development, especially to arrange the strategic ones that engage with national development goals? That's my first question. And my second question is, from your expertise angle, if you would like to implementing this corporate university, which is quite bigger one, what first thing first that we should do in order to make it a smooth, harmonized operation of this policy? And the third is about leadership training, because we also the foster institute for the leadership training. What do you think about the customized and also one fit for all the approach for the leadership training? For the current situations, which one do you think that most appropriate to cope with the current challenges such as pandemic and also unpredictable situations? Thank you so much. That's I hope you don't mind. I have 3 questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bu Evi. And nice to see that you shape some new rules to game here of engagement in terms of having 3 questions, which is perfectly all right. I love the questions so much. And please forgive me if I forget maybe one along the way. Help me to remind that to come back to your questions. Right. The first question is, I think I can be very brief I haven't seen around the world initiative, as you mentioned, to have an umbrella corporate university, as I call it for now, is to, at the end of the day, I believe, to help to organize, to coordinate, and maybe partly also control the learning throughout all the, for instance, the ministries and public organizations, which I can imagine is a interesting and also important thing to do in terms of avoiding fragmentation. So that's a first answer, which I want to make a little addition to it. What I see in the world is that you have, on a national level, that there are in particular specializations. There are national organizations being established to coordinate the development and also the learning of particular specialties in what, for instance, cybersecurity I know, for instance, example from Europe, even at European level, it happens in the Netherlands that governmental and even private organizations are getting together to coordinate their learning activities, and that's being put even on a European level. So this is a trend that you see, and I think the most important driver is that that we would see now that it's a medicine against fragmentation, that people do very different things, but there's overlap, even compete with each other. We don't know, we don't want to happen. So that's the first thing. So what you do, it fits the trend, but I believe you are the first one to have an umbrella for all corporate universities. Second question, if I recall correctly, is about the organizing. What I picked up was an organizational question, in fact. So how to make sure that you're effective as a umbrella organization, so to speak. And to me, it's a question of, okay, how are you going to work? There are two dimensions here. It's about the level of integration and how strict you do this, from putting activities on one location, for instance, or leaving it in the corporate university is one. And one is about the governance in terms of managing the activities. Do you really put people who are going to really actively manage activities, or are going to help to coordinate between the different corporate universities? And I believe these are the major questions and major dimensions to take along in your considerations, how to organize this umbrella corporate university. And this question is no different than from large corporations, which always have the question of, on the one hand, we want to be in unity, right? The power of being one. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, making use of the power, the knowledge of, well, say, local players close to where it happens. And that's a constant balance. Then your last question in terms of leadership, I believe I heard you say like a one size fits all, or things different. This reminds me of, for instance, large organizations which are very diverse in nature, with a lot of different activities, like from electric, but also know in Indonesia there are a lot of companies who have a lot of different activities. And actually, so I use this as a metaphor, as an example. They also wanted to how to shape leadership programs for the whole. And what's very interesting to see there is that putting a sample, right, helps people working in those different places to get a higher level of quality in terms of the education. These organizations are seen as a great business school where you can put up experience in different places close to the market, so to speak. And on the one hand, to have activities to coordinate a way to travel to other activities, other ministries, for instance, but also come together some now and then to learn from each other. And this is a wonderful experience. So coming back to your question, should it be central, should it be decentralized? I think it's balancing both, and then you have the best of both worlds. I hope this is a kind of an answer to your question.
Right, that is a very comprehensive answer. I hope that address your concerns, yeah, Miss Effie. Yeah, for your question number one, the answer is none, and the second is the key is integration and coordination, of course. And yeah, for last year leadership training for fit for all year, I think it's a bit challenging, Martijn, for diverse organization especially, but of course with coordination, of course that can be settled, right? Okay, so we still have one person raised hand here in this Zoom room, Mr. Christian Agung Prasetyo. Okay, Pak Christian, go ahead.
Thank you, Effie. Morning, Martin.
Morning, good afternoon to you. Right.
Thank you. My name is Chris, and I work as a lecturer in one of the higher institutions in Indonesia. My workplace, my campus, is basically under the management of Ministry of Finance. I was wondering how we could put my campus efficiently within within the framework of corporate university in the Indonesian Ministry of Finance. Do you have any thought about this? Thank you, Martin.
Yes, interesting question. Thank you, Pakar. It's first, and try to make it a little bit less comprehensive this time around. Yes, it's possible. I think yes, it's very wise to do as a ministry as well. And actually, all three activities, I think, your university or your school and then your activity, your education activity, can be placed in either academy, college, and school activities. What you see most often is that universities outside the corporate universities are being used and very helpful in terms of the school activity, capability development, and to help to scale this up. On the other hand, more recently at the Erasmus University, where I'm also teaching, let's see that what has been established there on campus is literally a laboratory, lab, literally, where many organizations from many different industries come together there to learn together on campus, but away from their own companies. So I see a role there also for maybe even your organization to play bring in your best qualities there. I hope this is a kind of an answer, Pakar.
So it's more to capability development, yes, scale up and thing, Pak Christian. Okay, right. So let's move on to the question on chat box, in Zoom chat box here. I see here from Febrian Bagus Setiawan, in the chat Zoom. Can corporate learning spur innovation in organization, Martijn? What do you say about that?
Could you restate the question, please? Just get a better view of it.
Yeah, the question is, can corporate learning spur innovation in organizations?
Right. Corporate learning for innovation in organizations is important, and it happens. It's actually the academy style, academy type of corporate universities which is out there. And what I see is that still, I think, at least 60, maybe 70% of organizations worldwide is struggling with particularly shaping that. Because this is about discovery and in the end of the day also defining which new directions an organization is going to take. And it's very often that sometimes hardly understood that learning is a very important component there. But here it's really about the academy type of corporate university activities. I hope this is a kind of an answer.
Okay, got it. All right, thank you for your answer. All right, next question in the chat box here from Nurul Cahya, KPPN Liwa. What is your opinion about organizational learning and learning organization? How do you think about learning organization in Indonesia, especially the Ministry of Finance? So the first question is
learning organizations.
Organization learning and learning organization. What do you think about both of them?
Learning organizations do the act of organizational learning, hopefully. But what I see is, I think, interesting phenomenon. It's learning organizations have nowadays. What I see is have put the systems in place and even some rules and the tools to really to further to push the informal learning. So a learning organization, the act of organizational learning, is just a formal part and an informal part. I think we all know that informal part is very important. Very important. So people learn on their job spontaneously. And I think it's a trend what you see is to facilitate people to learn, to do in the end of the day the act of learning as a collective. That's organizational learning. Right? Organizational learning is a collective of people that's learning. And if this works, if you get people to the act of learning, then you are a learning organization. And I believe that the Ministry of Finance, as far as I, of course, can see from the distance now from Amsterdam, is taking great steps there on that score.
All right. So I think the second question, can you just show up again one more time? The previous question, I mean, that is answering organization, learning and learning organization. And what do you think about in the Ministry of Finance here, about the LO, learning organization in Ministry of Finance? If you happen to know our LO, structure here.
Well, yeah, well, it's a nice question and a good question, and based at least of the, I think I did show at the beginning of my presentation the three pillars of the corpus of Ministry of Finance, and what I can see from that is that all three activities are in place, so the organization is in place. Of course, what I haven't seen from close by is how the act is actually being done. But I think the Ministry of Finance is way further than quite a lot of other organizations around the world in putting that structure there and understanding that a school type of learning is something different from a college type of learning, is different from academic type of learning, and that it all has its own activities that need to be organized. What you can see also from the slides and from the conversation is that's a lot of work is being put to make that work and to have these structures. So I think that if I even because my publisher is asking me all the time, Martijn, when are you going to write a new book? I said, well, when I have time. But it might be that Ministry of Finance of Republic of Indonesia might be a very interesting case in how do large, complex organizations actually go along with these school, college, academic types of corporate learning. And especially having them all three on board and doing them all three well. So that's my opinion on in answer to the question.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Martijn. And actually, in our learning organization of Ministry of Finance, we do have those three trichotomies here, right? But some of them are still, there are room for improvement. So we are still working on it too. Right. Okay, next, wow, there is somebody raised hand here in Zoom here. The name is Syukri, M. Syukri. Okay, go ahead, Mas Syukri.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Moderator, Bu Evi. Well, my question to Dr. Rademakers here consists of several questions. Hopefully you can answer it. Well, the first question would be, what is your opinion about the challenges of digitalization era? There will be employees who don't want to improve. There are still several generations in our organization that are not tech savvy or digital literate. The difference between the boomer generation, the Y, Z, and X generation. And the second question is, what are the other challenges besides digital capability that corporate university will face in the future? The third question, hopefully it's not too much. What are the key indicators that a corporation is successful as drivers of learning organization? And my last question would be, is there any differences between public and private corporate universities? Because in Ministry of Finance, we have FETA, or Finance Education and Training Agency, while in most of bankings, I also noticed that there are also corporate universities. And is there any differences between the public and private corporate universities? I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay. You seem to have a lot here, yeah? 4 questions.
I heard we get 4 questions now, right?
4 questions, yeah.
But thank you, Pas Syukri, for your questions. And maybe allow me to start with the last one this time round. So I also shaping some new rules to the game. Is there a difference between a public and private organization in terms of shaping corporate universities? Well, the short answer is not really. Because in the end of the day, it's about most time private, also definitely the public organizations. It's about large complex organizations, and actually the difference between large complex organizations is not that big actually. So that's maybe the first one. Where you see a difference, of course, if you go to the medium-sized and smaller organizations, which also may have a corporate university. You have little resources very often, and then you see it's the corporate universities are smaller, the activities are more limited. So these are the difference you can see there, right? Then let's see. Going back to your first question, you need to help me there. So the first question was on Boo. Maybe
now, the
what's
first question. Challenges of digitalization for people who don't want to change here.
All right, yeah, that's it's a phenomenon that you see very often, and there are actually two answers to this. What I've seen in terms of practice. One is, and it's college type of corporate university, helping people to understand what's going on and what their new role in there is, and then hopefully they want to learn and move on. And every group of stakeholders, different groups, need their own story. That's very important. Still, people have to say, well, I don't want to go along. What I've seen so far is that, well, they're not necessarily being fired, but definitely they are kind of replaced by people who want to move forward. And more particularly, if you look to the growing importance of information technology, to give you an example of ING Bank. They say we are now actually a software firm, an IT firm with a banking license. So this is how they view themselves. And actually, they need less people to do so. So it was they have made use of a social arrangement, helping people to find other jobs in other companies and other places. And they move on with actually so newer people, also younger people, and really for the sake of the continuity of their organization. So, but I'm very happy that to online here, that was a very social way to help people to find other places where digitalization was not really taking hold yet, to bring them to other places. So that's what can happen. So it's sometimes the proverb like you can bring the horse to the water, but you never can force the horse to drink, right? That's and then sometimes maybe the horse should find another home, right? So that's in fact the answer. All right. So we have the last question. We have the first question, and there must be something there in between still.
Okay. Besides digitalization, are there any other challenges?
Yes. That's it. I believe digitalization is still very dominant as a challenge, but there's more going on in this world. The climate changes. Another big topic is the CSR, as the being a good company in the end of the day. And these are definitely also issues keeping leaders in this world and organizations awake. And of course, that has an impact on how organizations learn, how you shape learning. There's one thing that all those topics have in common, and that is that it's all about phenomena, about challenges that we haven't seen before in this size, this magnitude, right? And this takes, in terms of the type of learning, the creative type, the academic type of learning, discovering what's going on, understanding it, and then making decisions which direction to take and what to learn next. So yes, there are differences. It's more than digitalization, but they have a thing in common, and that is that in the end of the day, it needs our creativity or exploring way of learning. That would be my answer to this interesting question. Yes.
I hope that answers your question, Pak Shukri. There is actually one more, but I really lost about key indicators for what here, Shukri? Can you repeat one more time a little bit? Still muted?
My last question would be the key indicators that a corporate university is successful as drivers of learning organization.
Yes, there are two which I can give you, which is they're broad indicators anyway. One is if you are successful as a corporate university, you will notice that the what I call in strategic terms, the fit between the value you need to create in an organization, actually your strategy, and where you're up to, that there's a very good fit. For instance, we want to take a new direction. Of course, there's a new regulation needed to curb AI, Do you have the people on board who are mastering, I know enough about AI to solve that question, to deal with it? Or can they learn fast enough to deal with that? That's a very important indicator, I believe. And second, so that's a formal part, and the informal part actually is, do you have a indicator, is the culture in your organization that people love to learn? They like to learn, they love to learn. There's a very important indicator, because I think it's a very important task for a corporate university, of course for people to learn, but definitely to entice them to learn voluntarily. That they almost ask you, can I learn the next thing? Then you do a very good job.
All
Okay,
right.
so I believe it depends on the culture of the organization, whether we become more likely to learn or not. So yeah, thank you so much for the answer.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let's continue next with, okay, we still have, let's just find out one more question from the chat room here, from Zoom here. From Ms. Hartati, BBSDM Kemenkumham. So, hello, Martijn. Whether the existence of a corporate university will guarantee an increase in employee competence, and how to balance the digital era 4.0 with the era of society 5.0 in this disruptive period.
All right. Well, this is a question about, well, interesting, two questions. So it's we're going from 3 to 4 to 2, which is definitely perfect. And the existence of a corporate university, it's actually a measure of quality. If people are the people you need, links to the question I think before, indication if you are successful as a corporate university is, and I think the mission of a corporate university is to make sure that people are definitely competent, which is a school level activity, by the way. If you have the competent people on board, which can do what needs to be done. So that's the existence of a corporate university doesn't guarantee anything, but it's what the corporate university does, right? Guarantees are not out there. Performance, in the end of the day, needs to be earned. It's effort, but at least I believe, and I see it around me. If an organization has a corporate university, at least a very good start. And the good news is that people having a corporate university actually doing something with it and helping to bring learning to a new level. And that's very important, especially if there's support from top management. So that's what you need. And then we come closer to guaranteeing that people are competent, because whatever they need to learn and like to learn, it's available to them if you do well as a corporate university. So that's the first part of the answer. Second part of my answer is the second part of the question, in fact, is about it's Industry 4.0, Society 5.0, the metaverse, as we just, I think, Google or Facebook and also are working on. To be very honest with you, I still can very hardly imagine how that world will look like. And the only thing we can be prepared for this is to keep our learning curve as steep as we can. And that means that we need to create the conditions that we can learn fast. And fast learning also find the right direction. That will be my direction.
Right, so agility matters, right? Okay, so, okay, thank you for your answer. Let's check out one more question. Okay, this is in the Zoom chat room here from Angga Setiawan. In the context of digital environment, should corporate universities shift all learning to virtual platform? What is your answer?
Interesting
Martijn?
question. Thank you, I see Angga Setiawan. The short answer will be no. Please don't. Please don't. I definitely believe that shifting learning activities is important and should happen in large measure, by the way. Especially the school type of academy, school type of corporate university activities, and maybe part of the college type of learning activities to make them accessible to people. So that's important. That's scale up. securing. That's what you do. But what I see definitely in the digital age is that because so much happens online, that people really need also to be in a learning situation where they actually meet people and where the exchange of information and tacit information, informal information is way more richer. So the learning experience is completely different, and that this evokes the creativity that we also need. So we need both. Will be my answer. And please don't put everything virtual and online. Definitely keep also space for, I think, high quality physical learning as well.
All right. So yeah, I think I agree with you that yeah, all modes of learning and platform, they all have like plus and minuses, right? So maybe delicate balance is good, yeah, to make sure that learning will be better, right? Okay. I'm sorry, but because of time constraint, I think so. Yeah, we come to the end of the Q&A session. So probably I can say or read a little bit brief summary of our Q&A session that we just had here. Well, actually, plenty here, yeah. But the thing is, learning, I think we have to do it, yeah, very rapidly. I mean, to cope with challenges that we face in our, workplace too. And also, yeah, I think the trichotomy, like a school, college, academia, I think is also basic, yeah, structure for corporate house here. So, of course, it just need a little bit, alignment with what thing that happened in your organization or institution. But the thing is, coordination, right, integration, and everything must be well prepared and developed by the people in the corporate university here. I hope I'm not make a wrong summary here. So, Martijn,
Excellent. So thank you so much. Yes.
do you have any final thoughts or final remarks before we end the session today?
Yes, I have. Thanks for asking the question. And it is first place is of course wonderful that we can share under these circumstances, long distance and what have you, our thoughts about corporate learning in times of digitalization. And I really love the questions, and it's a great indicator how dedicated we all, I think, here in this digital room are in taking corporate learning to a next level. And I believe we have a lot of tools and possibilities and models at our disposal with help to shape our thinking. And having said that, I think we also need our creativity together to bring our corporate learning and our corporate universities to a next level. But I think the basics or the basic layer is already there, and now let's together build on it, and who knows, write a new book on it. Thank you so much.
Well, that is a wrap up from Martijn. We thank you very much for this inspiring and insightful session. Dank u wel, right? Je bent erg geweldig. Okay, we look forward to meeting you again in the future, Martijn. Please stay healthy and see you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for Martijn F. Rademakers. Thank you very much. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. I'd like to give the screen back to our Master of Ceremony, Miss Siti. So, goodbye everyone. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, stay safe and healthy. Over to you, Miss Siti. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Bu Evi, and thank you very much, Martijn, for your insightful presentation today. And also, I'd like to thank once again Ibu Evi for moderating today's session. It was much appreciated. And ladies and gentlemen, before we close our webinar today, I would like to invite the Secretary of Financial Education and Training Agency, Bapak Iqbal Islami, to give his closing remarks. Pak Iqbal, the time is yours.
Thank you, Siti. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable Speaker, Mr. Martijn Rademakers, and Moderator, Ibu Evi Diah Indrawati, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants, one word to describe the presentation and discussion we just had: excellent. During the past 2 hours, I believe we all have obtained very rich learning from presentation of the speaker and also variety topics that were discussed during Q&A session. Today's webinar has provided us with a broader understanding of corporate university. Corporate universities are constantly obliged to adapt in order to remain relevant in an environment that is constantly changing, where changes, big and small, are happening faster and faster. We have learned a lot from Martijn, our speaker today. In the presentation, he has explained to us in great detail about 3 major roles of corporate learning in times of digital transformation: learning by exploration in academic type, transformational learning in college type, and capability development in school types. I believe that what Martijn has explained to us will give insight to us about how we shape our corporate learning in our corporate university, including Ministry of Finance. Thank you, Martijn, for taking the time to share to us today. It was an excellent session. It has been an invaluable experience for us to gain knowledge and insights for managing and developing our Ministry of Finance Corporate University. I hope to see you again for more discussion and sharing session. Ladies and gentlemen, there will be one more speaker tomorrow. It will be Mr. Lars Sutman, who will speak on innovation in learning organization. In case you are not familiar with him, he is the author of a book called Innovation That Sticks. He gives practical examples from leaders, from companies and organizations with different approach to strategy and innovation, and how those approaches determine the enhancement of our work. We look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Pak Iqbal, for the closing remarks, which also conclude today's webinar. To all participants who have joined us today, thank you very much for your participation. And don't forget to give your feedback about this webinar by filling the evaluation form via the link that we shared in the chat box. Stay safe and stay healthy. See you tomorrow on Ministry of Finance Learning Week Day 5 with the theme Innovation in Learning Organization with Lars Sutman. I'm Siti Dalai. Good day and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.